There we are. Welcome back, everybody, to another session of Fabula Ultima. So this is our second episode of Paths Less Traveled. And so if you were here last time, I explained that this is a series where we explore a system that we aren't quite as familiar with, because I mainly play Pathfinder. Now, this Fabula Ultima is a tabletop role-playing game inspired by classic JRPGs. Now, I think I've played a few back in the day, but it was never really my jam. However, my players here are sort of big into that scene, or at least big into like anime itself. So you know what? Before we begin here, before we jump into our adventure, I have a little icebreaker to ask you guys. So I'd like to know from you guys, what was the game, the series, what got you into like sort of anime as a genre? And I know it's just like anime is a different style, but like it is its own sort of thing. I'm just gonna start off with the characters here and go left to right. Vorthus, what got you into anime? Why'd you?
Okay. There's actually two things. It depends if you're talking about anime or if you're talking about like JRPG video game.
I'll
For
take both.
yeah, okay. So for anime, what got me into it was when I watched Hellsing, not Hellsing Ultimate, just the original like Hellsing anime. Cause I really wasn't much in the anime before that. I didn't really like Naruto, Dragon Ball Z. I didn't really care for them that much. But Hellsing is what kind of opened my eye to, anime more than just like Naruto, right?
Mm-hmm.
But as far as JRPGs, I would say that really started back in 2010 when I played on the Wii Xenoblade Chronicles. That was pretty much my gateway to JRPGs.
Very cool. I wish I knew more about it to have the conversation, but awesome. All right, Thread, old buddy Threadworthy there.
Oh,
What
hello there.
what got you into the whole anime craze?
Oh, I was a 12-year-old girl flipping around on Cartoon Network, Toonami. I don't know why I was up close to midnight at 12, but I was. And an episode of Cowboy Bebop came on, and I was like, what is this art? Art is incredible. The characters are the coolest things I've ever seen. Please, 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 I must know more. Um, so that was the gateway. And then they say in your teens, especially in the early 2000s, you had the big three, and usually people aligned with one. I aligned with Bleach, freaking love Bleach. I thought it was so cool. And so that really turned me into a major weeb for a very long time. So here I am.
Awesome. All right. Well, that brings us next to Decaf. So Decaf, you've brought a few anime-inspired characters to my Monster Mashes before.
Oh yeah, for sure. I think as the probably the oldest person in this group, it starts back with a couple of video games. The very first one is probably the most prominent one, which is the Suikoden series, which is always about a story of a main character that has to pull together an army to deal with a very big bad. The other one would probably be in similar tandem around that timeline. This older video game called Legend of Legaia, where the world is covered in this horrible mist and creatures within it go insane and kill the population. So you start off as a character in a very small village who finds a way to be able to venture out into the mist to save the world. I liked the idea of starting from humble roots and then going bigger. But yeah, I mean, we're talking the 90s are my big inspiration. Before, similar to Thread, we jumped into Toonami and all of their anime that they bring on. Which, funny enough, started, I would say, actually, with the Beast Wars Transformers series back in the late 90s, and then Dragon Ball Z and Sailor Moon and everything else.
One of the best Transformers series. But you say this Suikoden is a more prominent one. I've never heard of that, maybe aside from some reading I've done for this game, but I have played Legend of Legaia.
Love it.
I used to keep the notebooks because one of the things in that game was you would choose like punch, kick, left, right, front, up,
Oh
down.
yeah.
And so I would keep notebooks of the different combos that you would like discover from doing that, just in case I ever started a new game.
That
So
is valid. I love it.
I know you on. I got you on that one. So that leaves us with Shy. Shy, what got you into the whole genre, I suppose?
I wouldn't say I'm as much of a weeb, quote unquote, though I wouldn't necessarily mind it.
I was gonna say, with all
Because
the
I am definitely
all
still
the,
an enjoyment of the stuff. Yeah.
all the art you've sent me for Monster
Oh, of
Mash,
course.
I have trouble believing that.
Oh, well, see, and I was gonna say,
Just
I think a
exit
lot of
out.
mine is a lot of the art style.
Gotcha.
Is a huge things for me. But I would say the kind of two big starters, if we're going like the JRPG route, realistically starting would have been much later, but I mean, I've always enjoyed the genre. Probably would have been even just as early as something like Zelda. Specifically being a favorite of Twilight Princess, but you know, nothing too crazy. As for anime, admittedly, I started with Sword Art Online, and I have since, watched a few others, all things considered, and have realized the error of my ways of that being a favorite. And have now also learned of Sword Art Online on Abridged, which was far better. On top of.
Oh god. Like Howling Abridged also exists, and it's like just as good as you would know Howling Ultimate.
Oh, the abridged series that the groups do are just chef's kiss.
Well, excellent. So we are actually going to have a little abridged series ourselves, because this is just going to be a short little adventure featuring the Press Start module from Fabula Ultima. Now we are deviating a little bit from the baseline of this adventure, which comes with pre-made characters, with characters that we spent our previous session 1, building. I also just realized I have the wrong title on my live stream. So, I'm going to have you guys introduce your characters again real quick for everybody, and just sort of establish who they are. Let's see, we can just shift V. So we'll just start again, left to right. Vorthis, who are you playing? For those that missed out last time.
Yep. So I am playing one of my go-to role-playing characters, Claire Spitfire. She is a half-dragon gunslinger. And in this particular setting, she's kind of like the monster hunter. She loves to hunt monsters. And she gets into a little bit of a raid state, I suppose you could say, whenever she's fighting. She really gets into fighting. I'll just put it that way.
Very cool. So next, we have Thread. Thread, you found some nice art for your character here. You want to introduce us to her?
Yes, hello. I will be playing Everdeen Artemis. She comes from a city or kingdom called Deluna. She is somewhat of what 5e would call like an ice mage or ice sorceress, but in this place, ice arcanist, elementalist with a tad bit of spiritualist, and she is here to support her charge that you'll get to know shortly. And she's very cool. She's very methodical and collected. She is also wondering why people cannot do what they're supposed to do. That will be a running theme.
Excellent. Well, next up will be Decaf. And Decaf, you are playing a little bit more down-to-earth sort of character than the last two. Who do you got here?
Yeah, I have Felix Morrow. Felix is an ex-privateer from the Empire of Alonia, so he's not from here either. He is a heavy spearman who maybe dabbles a little bit in magic for the sake of being able to reach his enemies, make sure that nobody can get away from him, as he likes to eke out his own sense of justice.
Wonderful. And then the sort of linchpin in our party here is a prince played by Shai. Shai, you want to tell us about His Royal Highness here?
Yeah, so I am playing the young Rain Clarimond, aka the young prince of Nova. A bit of a free spirit, if you will, maybe rebellious teen, maybe he's got a sense of justice that's different than his father's, who knows? But he is kind of on his own and trying to use what his skills are to maybe do better than he thinks others have been doing.
Okay. Wonderful. Well, so as we begin our adventure, actually, you know what? Here, I'll just read a little bit of this here for you. Our story begins on a small airship sailing above the forest surrounding the city of Denova. Piloting the airship is an old man named Leon, who begrudgingly accepted to transport you near the ancient ruins known as the Crater of Megiddo, a once great city of magic that was devastated by a mystical cataclysm in the past. The crater still hides many powerful and terrifying secrets, and troops from the neighboring Empire of Alonia have been spotted in the area. Why, you may ask, are our heroes headed there? Well, that's a question that Rain Clarimond can answer. His father, King Roland, decided not to take action against Alonia, but Rain has disobeyed his orders and gathered a group of exceptional individuals to personally investigate the situation. So as we all find ourselves on this airship, and this is actually an aspect of Fabula Ultima itself, you guys are both encouraged to describe your characters here, as well as what they're doing on the ship, and add some details about the ship, because this is one of the main draws of Fabula Ultima is that it is a cooperatively created world. So if you guys want to establish something like, oh, this airship flies by like wings or something, you could do that. But why don't we just start with where you guys are at on the ship and what you think you're doing right now? It's a small crew, not many people aside from you four. So whoever wants to just jump right in, let me know.
I would say it's definitely a luxurious ship fit for a prince. That there's quarters, maybe.
Yeah.
Definitely a training room where I could imagine myself being frustrated that we're not training more. Um, that's what I'm thinking. What about other folks?
Yeah, so maybe they've converted a hold because they're not transporting cargo right now. They've controlled it into sort of a training room for you, and you might be researching or something down there, sort of awaiting the prince to come down for his lesson, something of that nature. Perfect.
Yeah.
I think I can definitely envision such a ship. I think that fits fairly well. Honestly, the cover art here is almost actually exactly what I kind of envision Rain is almost doing. Maybe a little
Zoom out
safer just because
a little bit.
he doesn't want to because he doesn't want to fall, probably, realistically.
Yeah, so maybe
he
he's
doesn't feel that
maybe he's
brave.
at the railing instead of standing on it.
But definitely leaning at least a little with a not quite a death grip on the rope and banister there, but probably pretty close as it looks out. Most
Okay.
hopefully.
Okay, do you think he sees anything like soaring through the air? Any
Well,
like birds, or maybe he sees a distant drake or something?
honestly, I was gonna say maybe another airship at least. Just imagining like the skies are not exactly not busy. There's going to be trade. There's going to be going along. He maybe sees a couple other airships.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
with
you can
them
see
passing along.
a ship slowly lowering into the Nova, departing from or landing in the docks that you and your party have only recently departed from.
Probably a trade ship. I
Mm-hmm.
can imagine.
Indeed.
It's got to be a pretty big deal considering.
So that brings us above deck. Is there anybody else up here on deck?
I would be on the deck as well.
Okay.
Most likely just kind of like taking in the air a little bit. Like Claire kind of like being up in the air. Kind of part of her dragon heritage. Like
Absolutely, yeah.
She definitely feels more at home at higher altitude.
Yeah, and you're getting that rush of like just pure brisk air.
Yep. I would imagine she'd probably be like at the very toward the front end of it, just kind of like just looking out at the sky.
Okay. So yeah, kind of pulling a little bit similar to the prince there, but
A little bit.
like a little bit of your privacy. You're like, he can do it on his own. I'm gonna do it over here. Excellent. Well, Decaf, that leaves Felix. So the three of you, like I said, you have been gathered together by the prince, and so you have some sort of relation to him, some knowledge of him, or he's at least aware of your exploits. So now, Felix, you have maybe been picked because you are from the Empire of Alonia originally, once upon a time. So what do you think you're doing? Are you nervous for possibly running into the people that you used to be connected to, or what are you up to?
Yeah, I like to think Felix is probably actually in his quarters as well below deck. If anything, he's got the look of being propped up on his bed with his hands behind his head, eyes closed, pretending to nap while he's actually kind of thinking about the events to come. More or less, I think he's really coming to terms with the fact that we're taking action under Rain against the Empire. So he's really fortifying his resolve in this moment before he has to step off this ship.
Okay. And I think as you're sort of readying yourself, sort of fortifying yourself, there's, I imagine, a window in your cabin. And a shadow passes over it, a bird or something, maybe even a cloud. But it's enough to sort of like cause you to stir, and you look out the window. And as you do, you see the trees, the forest sounding de Nova, begin to sort of dwindle. They become fewer and fewer as you and those your comrades up above can finally see the crater below. An oddly circular pit that descends into the ground, filled with the remains of ancient stone buildings and once glorious waterways that crumble towards its depths. Just as Leon, your pilot, prepares to descend, you hear a rumbling noise from the depths of the crater, and suddenly a great beam of purplish energy shoots from below, hitting the left side of the airship. In a moment, the magical energy has faded, but the vessel lurches and bucks, demonstrating its displeasure at this strike. "Son of a cactual!" snaps Leon. "I swear this is the last time I drive a bunch of adventurers around. We'll be lucky to get down there in one piece." His voice rings out through the ship, and he goes actually on the alarm, like informing all hands brace for impact. And you all understand that the ship is far too damaged. A crash landing is inevitable, but each of you might still find ways to make it less disastrous. So this is a part of the game where I ask each of you to make a check. Now, checks are the basic mechanic in Fabula Ultima. It's used to determine whether you accomplish your objectives in a scene without suffering dangerous consequences. So as the airship begins to spiral and shudder towards the ground, your characters have an opportunity here to attempt to mitigate the dangers of the crash. Some examples are attempting to contain the magically overloaded engine, helping Leon steer the wheel, or even just rushing to protect someone. Now, as for the roll itself, it will be based on your attributes. So your attributes are your dexterity, insight, might, and willpower. Excuse me. Each of which is represented by a die size. Now, when you make a check, you roll 2 dice, and the dice you roll are based on the attributes your character is using for the action in question. For example, if a character was to perform a check using dexterity and might, they would add those 2 dice together, roll them, and total the result. So I have a difficulty in mind here. And you guys need to figure out what it is you want to try to do to mitigate or at least brace.
If people don't mind, I'll go first. I've got an idea.
Please, Your Highness,
If-
lead the way.
He wants to try and protect as many people as he can. A lot of his magic that he actually has is very protective. What would it? Could he try to? I wonder what this. I think Rain's goal. He wants to try and create like a magical shell, a magical barrier that helps absorb the impact. Just maybe on the side of the ship somewhere, or like again, just to like absorb the shock of the
A
impact.
little like buffer, like a pillow or something like that.
Kind of like a suspension or a pillow, yeah.
Okay, perfect. So now you're using magic here. Now you are trained in magic, and in most cases, magic is inspiration plus willpower. So, is that what you would like to roll for your check?
Insight and willpower sound perfect to me. Yeah.
Excellent.
So
So that
my
means you will be
insight
rolling-
die.
Yeah.
My insight die is a D10 along with my willpower. Oh,
Yep.
it's perfect.
That is. So you're going to be rolling 2 d10s for this.
Oh, configurable rolls under rolls. What?
Yeah, actually, if you go to your character sheet on rolls, there is configurable rolls. You can actually select the 2 stats and then hit
Oh.
roll, and it'll combine them for you.
Look at
There's
that.
rolls.
And you can create your own new ones as well with that add button.
Yeah, the preset one is interrogate for insight and willpower, but you are using it instead to weave.
There's also persuade.
Yes, yeah. You're using it to weave magic together into just a buffer enough to like soften the blow of the ship's landing.
All right, here we go. Here goes nothing. No modifiers. Okay.
11.
Total of 11.
Okay. You're
I rolled
feeling
7. I don't know if that would matter.
you're feeling pretty good about that.
Right.
Feeling pretty good. Let me see. And so, just so that we're all aware, a critical success happens when both dice show the same number, and that number is 6 or higher.
Hmm.
So, obviously that can happen when you rolled an odd number, but if you'd rolled for, say, like a 12 and rolled a 6 and a 6, that would have been a critical
Mhm.
success.
Yeah, 2 6s, 7s, 8s, 9s, and 10s in my case would all.
You need pairs. All right. So, yeah. So, what we see is Rain maybe like rushes towards the front of the ship as it begins to dip down, maybe grabbing that railing that he's on. And as we go, we can hear him maybe muttering some arcane language or even making like symbols with his hand. And as he does, sort of wind gathers beneath the ship, and you can see it like swirling. It's got this light touch of coloration representing the magic surging through it as it buoys the ship just slightly and sort of forms a cushion beneath it. Excellent. Okay, who wants to go next? Please, not everybody at
A
once.
question.
Yes,
A question. if you
absolutely.
will.
What do you got?
So I misspoke earlier. My third class is not a spiritualist. I don't know why I thought that. It's actually Fury.
Yes.
Kind of like a berserker piece. I am curious to know if adrenaline would help us here.
Adrenaline. Okay, let's check out what adrenaline is, because I do not have everything memorized. So, classes. There's glacies, adrenaline. Oh, we don't have anything listed for it either.
Right. We wrote it down and then. So
Alright, page 194
I'm
for the
looking it up.
Fury.
194 for the
Adrenaline
Fury.
adrenaline only occurs when you are in crisis.
Is define crisis.
It's when you're like below half hit points or lower,
Gotcha.
I believe.
So that would not help. Um, would any ice be useful for like being able to shield or ice skate the ship so that it maybe can glide instead of crash?
Certainly. Yeah, you can absolutely try that. It's going to be similar to what Rain just did.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you're yeah, you want to go and give it a roll, see what happens.
Yes, I do. Um, and
So
for
on your character, you
glaciers,
can click on rolls up top there.
yes, yes, already there.
And so yeah, just inspiration and willpower for this.
All
Actually, you know
right.
what? I should switch up the music because this is. Let's see.
Maybe a touch more tense.
Okay, a 10. Let's do something a little bit faster. All right, a 10. So yeah, you're maybe thrown from the chair where you're reading or something, and you scramble to your feet. You get above deck and you can see the ship descending rapidly. So you look over, you can see the prince running ahead, gathering magic, maybe magic you yourself have instructed him on. But you realize like he's good, he's safe, he's not lost or anything, and so you begin weaving your own spells, and cold flies from your fingertips, forming a sort of in the midst of the crater, forming a ramp to sort of like catch the ship and hopefully try to ease its descent, ease its impact. Excellent. Okay. Who next? We got Decaf. We've got Felix and we've got Claire left.
Yeah. I could probably go. So it does appear that the prince is at least somewhat steady. So I was actually going to maybe take the air myself a little bit. I can't really fly that well because my wings are kind of tattered from all the battles I've been in.
Okay.
But I can use them to kind of try to stabilize myself while we're falling. Like I can kind of like lift myself just slightly and kind of glide with the ship.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just trying to think like if the ship is rocking too much as we're descending, then I'm probably took to like just the air just above, try to stabilize myself and take stock of the situation.
Okay. So a little bit of flight. What do you think that is going to be for abilities?
I feel like either dexterity plus dexterity or dexterity plus might.
I think I want a little bit of might in there because
Mm-hmm.
you
Yeah.
gotta put some work into it if your
Yeah.
wings are as tattered as you say they are. You definitely
Yep.
gotta. So all right,
So,
let's see. Dex and might.
yep.
18. Oh boy, not a crit. Close.
Not a.
But yeah, you. Maybe it's just like this sort of oneness you're feeling with the air, or maybe you just get lucky and hit a thermal. But you take soaring to the air with ease, and you'll know like even if the ship goes down, you'll be able to safely follow it.
Mm-hmm.
So that just leaves Decaf, or as he is known in this game, Felix Morrow.
Yeah. I think I'm going to do something similar to Claire. But since I'm still in my own quarters, I like to think that I have to grab my spear and then bolt out of my room so that I can try and get to the upper deck area and then make my way towards probably what would be the highest point on the ship
Mm-hmm.
as it's descending, so that I can basically brace myself for the impact of hitting ground.
Okay. Okay, so you're sort of what you're thinking is you're going to be just getting to a position best to sort of brace yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So going through a ship, especially when it's rocking, that's a little bit of acrobatics, a little bit of sort of athletics, to use parlance we're a little bit more familiar with.
Mm-hmm.
What are you thinking for rolls wise?
I could probably see with the planned action plus the mobility, probably Dex and Might.
Dex and might. Okay, I like it. Makes sense to me.
Sweet. Here we are. No modifier, so it just should roll.
And a 14, and that is a critical success.
7 plus 7.
All right, so yeah, uh, critical successes are automatic successes. And sometimes you'll put a little extra spin on it, if you so desire. In this case, there's not too much going on. But with people bracing, and actually maybe with that critical success, you're even able to help one or another crewmates brace for the impact. You're confident enough that you can handle it. And so what happens is, buffeted by the winds, this ship lands heavily. I wouldn't even call it crashes, but it lands heavily upon this slide of ice. And I mean, you can hear the ice like sort of crumbling and crackling beneath it. But it's enough to slow the descent. And so the ship is brought gently down onto the earth, but nevertheless you can hear the wood cracking, you can hear it splintering as the ice gives way to the rock and stone of the crater. Buildings jutting into the ship. But it's mostly preserved, thanks to the work of your team here. Felix, you managed to land without so much as a hair out of place, and not long after you guys come to a halt, amidst a cloud of dust and maybe a little bit of frost still in the air, Claire descends to join you all once more upon the deck. So, you see other people are shaken, but the four of you sort of convene, and
Say,
you are all doing well. Now, what would have happened, because all of you succeeded that, if anybody had failed, I would have given you, depending on what you were doing, everything like that, you might have taken on a status effect. And so there are 6 status effects in Fabula Ultima. And each of them, instead of like doing like a specific effect or anything like that, each of them will lower one of your abilities, one of your attributes. For example, a dazed character lowers their insight by 1. A shaken character lowers their willpower. A slowed character lowers their dexterity. And a weakened character lowers their might. There's also enraged and poisoned. Enraged characters lower both their dexterity and insight, whereas poisoned characters lower both their might and willpower by 1 die size. So that's very sort of I think an elegant way to do status effects. I do kind of like that. And it is worth noting that these effects are cumulative. So different status effects that lower the same attributes stack, such as weak and poisoned. So if somebody had like a D10 and they in their might and they were weak and poisoned, it would go down to a D6. Though it is worth noting that you can never go below a D6.
that's convenient.
So, as the dust settles, as it all clears, the airship has crashed, its hull wedged into the dirt and muck at the crater's edge. It's clear that the vessel won't be flying anytime soon, and from the center of the pit, you can see irregular pulses of glowing energy. The source of that purple light is still active. So as you sort of begin collecting yourselves, as the crew comes stumbling out of the quarters or untying themselves from the mast or whatever else our ship flies on, you see Leon sort of hop down and sort of hemming and hawing as he's, well, Did pretty good work there, keeping it on shape. He looks up, scratches his brow. Should have it flying in about a day or so. Take me some time.
I think Rain speaks up and just immediately asks, "Is everyone on the ship okay? Like, any injuries?"
Yeah, I didn't notice any here. Round him up, let's see. Calls out to his first mate, and there's a few cuts and bruises, but it seems largely due to the work that you all did to preserve the ship. Nobody seems too much worse for the wear. Those that do, you see Leon rummages inside the airship for a few minutes and produces a bag with a few potions and remedies. He passes it out amongst the crew before looking to the four of you. He looks at you, scratching his head. Well, this is a right proper mess still. Pretty sure you've got your work cut out for you down there, too. He nods towards the center of the crater. I'll survey the damage, see what can get fixed. Might need a hand or 3 later, so you better get back here in one piece. In fact, the best way you can help right now is by shutting down whatever caused that beam of light. I ain't looking to take to the air again only to get blasted. And I'm no adventurer, so I'll gladly leave that to you.
Everdeen walks out and up to Rain. She's shaking her mage cloak. And she's like, every time we go on an adventure, there's always something. But I'm glad you're fine. Glad I'm fine. I'm glad at least we have a competent pilot. Let's see what we could do about the mess about here.
Well, I mean, I'd like to imagine the magic I've learned over time has been at least somewhat useful.
I see you did apply your lessons, so I'm not as disappointed as I could be. But at least we're alive, we're okay.
Excellent.
I think Rain probably kind of acknowledges that this is maybe not uncommon in his understanding that this is probably more of a like, yeah, I'm proud of you. I'm not going to say that. I think he started to kind of pick up on that over time.
Exactly.
And doesn't, he just kind of lets it be.
What's that called? Tsundere?
Yeah,
Tsundere?
very Tsundere. Yeah, very like, I guess I'll keep you around.
He maybe just gives himself like a small smile, and I think he looks towards the other two, giving them a nod, like, thumbs up, like checking in on them, like, are we 100%? Questions?
So yeah, how are the other two looking? What are they doing?
I think
Okay.
Felix is totally fine with the situation outside of just, well, yeah, we're the ones that were meant to deal with anything here, so let's go investigate whatever that purple light was.
Yeah, I was
Okay.
thinking the same thing.
Excellent. So yep, you two are just ready to go, ever professional. The killers of the team. Now, at this point in the sort of press start adventure, because the press start is a very it goes bit by bit, sort of unlocking parts of your character sheet as it describes them, and it comes with the pre-gen characters. Now, normally, this is where the adventure wants us to take a little pause and have characters discuss their traits. And so, while your attributes represent your affinity towards different approaches to a challenge, traits are more narrative concepts that make your character unique. And so we went over all these in the character creation, and they consist of your identity, which represents what your character currently sees themselves as, your theme, which represents the dominant narrative force that drives your character's story, and your origin, which is where your character is from. Now, we've already covered that a little bit because I had you introduce your characters earlier. And one thing that is posted here is asking you guys some questions about your characters. However, the questions it provides me are very pointed towards the pre-made characters. So we're gonna move past those a little bit. Now we do still have an heir to the throne of Denova. So here, you know what? We'll spend a little bit on it.
Oh boy.
Rain, is your position as an heir an honor or a burden? And on top of that, when your father forbade you from taking action against Salonia, was he trying to protect you?
Ooh. Okay. I would say there's a weird mix of like between the honor and a burden, but I would say it definitely flies much more towards honor. He wants to be a good future king. He wants to prove that he can rule fairly for everyone and keep everyone safe. But ooh, protect me. Very possibly. Imagine Rain to be a little more, lack of better words, almost naive. That free spirit is, and that want to just serve out that justice towards people who deserve it, to protect who he can. He probably feels like he has more power than he actually does. So I can imagine that, yeah, it probably was to protect him, honestly.
Okay. Okay. Excellent. Now, I did just whip one up real quick for our, not sure what I actually wanted to call you, but our former member of the Empire, for Felix. So now, Decaf,
okay.
do you think, is there anybody in Alonia that you missed? Do you have any ties left to the Empire since leaving them?
I don't think he does. I think Felix has decided to really take in the experience of moving on to what he feels like to be a better life. And meeting Rain, somebody who's probably a little bit more of an idealist in his approach of even just taking matters into his own hands against the actual king, is something that he can approve of, right? He is definitely the go-getter of a situation himself. So I think he's more than happy to cut ties and move forward. Very military brat, almost, if you will.
Okay, okay. I dig it. Everdeen. So we're just doing these little questions to sort of bring in the traits and aspects of your character. So those are good things to reference here. Now, Everdeen, you're a mentor. And one of your main themes is doubt. And so
Yeah.
I have to wonder, how many times can you be let down? When does the doubt, when is it all too much? Like, when do you realize, like, this isn't working, we have to cut ties, or we have to cut and run?
I love this question. I think it's a two-sided coin here. So on the one hand, there have been people in her life over her 40 years, because in an anime world, she's 40, ergo she's elderly at 40. Um, there have been a few people in her many years that did actually earn her respect and move past doubt. And King Clarimond is definitely one of them, which is why she even left her home of Deluna to serve not only the king, but his son. And she definitely sees the potential of Prince Rain,
Maybe sees a little
but
bit of
still has,
Roland in Rain.
yeah, yeah. yeah, sees so much potential, but still has some doubt because part of the reason maybe why she left DeLuna is too many people may have let her down.
Hmm.
Um, as a leader of that realm, she saw too many people maybe fall into corruption or maybe fall into complacency instead of actually and cutting corners instead of actually rising to the occasion and doing the full job complete and well.
Excellent. Awesome. I think that gives us a good sort of look into the character, which just leaves us with good old Claire Spitfire. Claire the Half Dragon. So Claire, for our listeners and fans, numbered in the hundreds, the thousands, um, I'm sure they're all curious. Which parent was the dragon, and
The father.
how involved are they in your life? Is it somebody that you see regularly? Is it that you have to kill them?
No, not quite. Her father is kind of the reclusive type. He doesn't really come down from the mountain all that often. In fact, he wasn't really that much of a part of her life, so she kind of harbors a little bit of resentment
Resentment?
for him
Yeah.
for that, which is what you could argue kind of like the root cause of her anger. Like,
Fair.
obviously, daddy issues, very classic.
Classic, yes. All right, excellent. So yeah, this is a band that has some baggage to them, but they have set a foot forward on this adventure. And while not unipresent, there are bonds between them. And now remember, uh, and actually this is a good time to mention this. You guys, you did make us a little bit bonds before game, and I thought that was fine. But now that you have had a chance to see each other in action and have answered some questions about who you are and why you're here, if you'd like, each player should create a bond with one other player character. Now choose someone, it says, that left an impression on you during the first scene. And so now bonds are each have up to 3 emotion, each chosen from one of the following pairings. You can have a bond of admiration or inferiority. You can have a bond of loyalty or mistrust, or you can have a bond of affection or hatred. So, who wants to go ahead and establish a bond?
Um, well, maybe if you'd like, I can go over what I already have if that would help.
Yeah, if other
And I
people
think it
are
would
still
probably,
figuring out their bonds, I think that's a good
yeah.
choice.
And this way it's on the stream as well. And I think even with the events that just occurred on the ship, this probably fits just as much, anyways. Um, I would say Rain currently has his 2 bonds. One with the King of Denova himself, his father. Definitely has maybe some affection towards. He does love his father. He um, respects that there's that tie as a father, but I think there's also inferiority between him and his father. He doesn't feel he's treated maybe not fairly, or like he's not given that recognition of potential.
He isn't given a chance.
Yeah, which is maybe where this is going. But specifically to kind of follow the events of the ship and the mentor, he also has a bond of admiration towards Everdeen, someone he looks up to, someone he wants to try and prove himself to.
Okay.
More so than even maybe his father.
Yeah, and so this is now Everdeen is your mentor, but she's a little cold to you, but she has nevertheless proven herself to be a capable mentor and caster. And so yeah, a bond of admiration.
And I think it's the fact that she's here with him in the first place, like that's probably part of it.
I dig it.
Someone who is at least willing to give him that up.
Now, the number of emotions you have in a bond is known as that bond's strength, which can range from a minimum of 1 to a maximum of 3. For instance, a bond of, we'll take your dad for example, A bond of affection and inferiority has a strength of 2. Now this means, so the bonds that we are creating here, specifically the ones among the party, are only going to have one emotion, which means they will have a strength of 1, but later on you will be able to add new emotions or form more bonds. We're just going to leave it at 1 for now. So, Thread, would you like to go next since you kind of have one set up as
Yes.
well?
Yes, I can. And so to be fair, because Everdeen is a ice elementalist, she's pretty cold to everyone, not just Prince Rain here.
Right, but the prince probably interacts with you more regularly, so
Absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely. So of course, as mentioned before, one of the stronger bonds Everdeen has is to King Roland. Um, I was waffling between admiration and loyalty. I think they're for Everdeen, if one garners her admiration, you definitely have her loyalty.
Okay.
But I just put admiration for now, just to keep it simple.
Sure.
And then, of course, as a result, she also holds affection for Rain Claremont because she's been around since he was very, very little.
Mhm.
And as part of the admiration for King Roland is here to make sure Rain is as powerful and reliable as he possibly can be.
Excellent. Now, while you two did choose each other for your bond, it is worth pointing out that that does not have to be the case. For example, like what we just have here, Everdeen has an affection for Rain, but you could have Claire have a mistrust or loyalty to Rain or Claire, whichever you guys would like to do. You don't necessarily have a mutual bond. Because this is a bond that is more important to your character. Also, I do want to. One thing I want to do real quick is I want to move us to the crash site. So this is I'll zoom us out a little bit so we can see our airship crashed in the, maybe not as buried as this one is, but crashed upon the remains of this civilization. So next, Claire or Felix. Either one of you, I'd like you to tell us a little bit about your bonds, or who you would like to form a bond with.
Yeah, sure, I could go next. Cause I kind of have, I guess, 2 bonds in mind. One from like essentially before the adventure, and one like during the event just now.
Yep.
So the one before, you would have kind of a bond of, I spoke to this before, a bit of mistrust with her father, Totamatia.
Okay.
I might have butchered the pronunciation, but that's supposed to be Finnish for firearm.
Oh, okay.
Kind of fun.
Yeah.
Kind of like one of those names I came up with for the overall Claire lore, so to speak. So I won't go too much more into that. Basically, he didn't really involve himself much in her life, so she kind of mistrusted him for it.
Mm-hmm.
And I figured, seeing how Felix handled himself so well during the airship crash, and he's kind of like a fellow warrior, I would imagine she had a little bit of admiration for him.
Yeah. She just saw this dude essentially rodeo ride the ship down to the ground. She was flying alongside. That's pretty impressive on his part. So yeah, I dig it. Admiration makes sense.
Yep.
So Decaf, we've given you some time if you needed it to figure out your bond.
Yeah, I think just from where he was at the start of this, he didn't have a lot of sight around him out other than the window. He could definitely see, however, the barrier that was being erected over the airship as we were starting to descend. There's a bit of a knowing between the character interaction that, ice magic isn't really anyone other than Everdeen's foray. So I think he immediately clocked that was Rain doing everything he could to help. And knowing that he's the crown prince, I think Felix can approve of those actions and has more of a loyalty towards Rain for what he did to protect the crew.
Okay. All right, excellent. Say a little bit of loyalty to the young prince. Well, as we establish our bonds and the traits that propel our characters forward, our scene briefly shifts. Gone is the airship, as we are now inside an ancient building, a temple, perhaps. It is a dark room, illuminated by a dim purple glow. Supporting the roof is a massive bronze pillar, decorated with ancient symbols. And the pillar is filled with cracks, from which are seeping rays of intense energy. We hear the clacking of armored heels on the stone floor. Then we see a hand approach the pillar, wrapped in a silver gauntlet. The scientists in Alonia were right, a feminine voice says. The compass was left buried here ever since the disaster. Now that we have it, dear brother, now I will bring you back for good. Two shadows stand against the purple light. One is massive, like a giant clad in armor, while the other is shorter and thinner, wielding a long spear. It seems our heroes don't have much time left. So this has been what is known as a villain scene. Or more properly known as a Game Master scene. Now this is a scene like any other, but it doesn't involve the player characters, and often takes place simultaneously with their actions. These scenes are used to set the mood and build suspense. They can be used to foreshadow an antagonist, or just show what's happening while the heroes try to ready themselves. So now we can talk a little bit about villains. As well as, more importantly for you guys, Fabula points. Villains are the player character's dark mirror. They are formidable antagonists whose actions are placing the world in danger. So like a common troll would not be a villain, but a troll warlord, that has the potential to be a villain, to be a greater threat. To help you combat these villains, there are Fabula points, and these are what truly make player characters special. Now, a freshly created player character receives 3 Fabula points, which you guys would have. Now, you gain 1 Fabula point whenever A, you either roll a fumble on a check, or B, a villain enters a scene. Now, that scene I just shared had 2 villains in it, which means at this point, every character should have 5 Fabula points at their disposal. So wherever that is on your sheet, make sure that you write that down, make a little note of that.
That'll be
And-
on your character sheet underneath bonds.
There we go. Perfect. Now, when it comes to spending Fabula points, there's 2 main things you can do with them. You can, after performing a check, as long as you didn't roll a fumble, you may spend 1 Fabula point to invoke one of your traits, your identity, theme, or origin, and reroll 1 or both dice and use the new rolls. Alternatively, after performing a check, you can spend 1 Fabula point to invoke one of your bonds, and add the strength of that bond, which is the number of emotions tied to it, to the result of the check. You can only do this once per check. And whenever you do either, whenever you invoke a trait or a bond, explain how that helps your character defy destiny.
You're like superhero point.
Kinda, yeah.
Yeah. But with that established, let's return to our heroes. And there's no clear path towards the bottom of the crater. The place is littered with rubble, collapsed buildings, and shattered columns. On top of that, the whole area whispers of the lives that were lost here. A maze of ruins bathed in ominous purple light, coming from a large building several hundreds of meters below where you are. Now, the crater is a veritable maze, but the purple light is relatively easy to identify. So moving forward here is going to require you all to sort of work together. So this is going to require a group check. So you as a group, as a party, need to decide which player character will act as a leader. This will be the person last to perform the check, and their result will determine the consequences of the action. The leader describes their approach to the situation, which allows the game master to establish the attributes and difficulty level of the check. The other player characters will perform a support check. This check uses the same attributes as the leader's, but has a fixed difficulty level of 10. Then, for every player character who exceeds on their support check, the leader gets a +1 bonus to their result of their check. If any of these characters have a bond towards the leader and their single highest strength among those bonds to the leader's, add the single highest strength among those bonds to the leader's check as well. Finally, the leader will perform the check, and I, your ever humble game master, will narrate the consequences based on the result. So, with that being the case, with the goal being to navigate the maze-like ruins of the crater of Megiddo, who shall take the role of leader?
Question.
Yes.
We still pick like what it is we're intending to do, navigate, right? Like separately as as individuals or like as a group.
Well, so the leader will tell me, and you guys can just talk about amongst yourselves, but the leader decides how they want to approach the situation, which leaves it up to me to establish what attributes and difficulty level will be needed for the check.
Okay.
I am curious, simply, and this is for my fellow players, because all of us have some sort of anchoring towards Rain, it makes me wonder, even though he may not have the most experience, if he's still our leader, though, like because of that anchoring of all of us.
Rain, I will say Rain's more than willing to take charge and lead, and it's probably something he tries to do whenever he knows he can. But I think the group checks, it can indeed just be like whoever is taking charge because they happen to know a way that goes through it, and they're the ones that's just maybe not like in charge per se, because and to be honest, I don't even know if there's really an in charge with the four of us here.
Right.
But also just to who maybe has the best chances of doing the check, depending on what the goal overall is.
Yep.
That makes sense.
And so let's say like if the goal was just to brute force it, right? This is not me saying that's the choice. We just pick a path and hope luck, gets us there. Whoever's like the primary check, let's say that's, I don't know, whatever you would decide luck to be, wisdom. I'm just putting it out there. Would that mean other people roll that check as well specifically to then see if that helps the leader?
Yeah, so the leader decides on what check will be rolled, and then everybody has to do that check.
Okay.
Yes.
Gotcha.
Well, I mean, the leader decides how to approach it, the GM decides what traits that entails.
Yeah.
Attributes.
Okay, cool.
I did pick up that bonds are kind of like a modifier here. Is that
yeah, so like it says, if for every player character who succeeds on their support check, the leader receives +1. If any of those characters have a bond towards the leader, you also add the single highest strength among those bonds to the leader's check as well.
Yeah, so for example, if Rain is in charge, Everdeen and Felix, if I'm not mistaken, correct? I'm not seeing Everdeen or Felix's name, by the way. Don't know why. But anyways,
demoted to NPC status.
Oof.
Okay, 1 second.
But if, let's say, Rain's in charge, you each make your check. There's 2 successes amongst you, so there's a +2 to whatever Rain's going to roll. Both have a bond strength of 1 with Rain, so he would also get an additional +1 due to a bond strength of you.
Got you.
For a total of
It's
+3
not
on top of
cumulative.
his check. Yeah, it's not cumulative. It's just the strongest
The bond pieces. Yeah, it's not cumulative. Got it. But the successes are. So if like all 3 of us are successful, that adds.
At least as long as I'm ensuring I understood that correctly.
That sounded all
Yeah.
right to me.
And
Alrighty.
then to my humble game master. So, um, is the issue the terrain? Is the issue that we heard like the rumbles?
It is. This place is a labyrinth of ruins and
Mhm.
just difficult like terrain to cross over. Everything like that. Everything that can get in your way is getting in your way here.
Makes sense.
And
Yeah,
so
I
you need
wouldn't
to
be able
find a way to navigate through it. To otherwise find some way through this labyrinth.
Yeah, and because it's such a labyrinthine thing, I probably wouldn't be able to fly over it because I'm sure there's like way too much rubble to even be able to do that.
Makes sense.
And even if I did, I'd be leaving you three behind, and that's not a good thing.
Understood.
Okay. If I'm gonna put forth an idea, if people want, and maybe I'll. So this pit in the center, right? I don't imagine it's 100% unresearched, unknown, right? Like there'd have to have been, like some researchers maybe looked into it at some point, right? There have
Possibly.
been maybe texts in the library that would maybe go over, how this labyrinth may have been built at one point in time. That would maybe give a concept of quote unquote like schematics, or maybe even if it was built in a certain style, so that you can kind of get a visual of how it would have been built and where paths would lead because of that.
There's a possibility, but the thing that caused this crater was magic. So there's also instances of where the terrain has simply been warped by these ancient arcane energies. And you might even see instances of, like, well, non-Euclidean like geometry, like buildings like intersecting with each other and stuff like that. And it makes it difficult to simplify things in that regard.
Okay.
That makes sense. I do somewhat get both of you guys drift in that, because it's helping to determine the type of roles we would do. That if there was some sort of either arcane understanding on top of history, on top of like maps and guides that maybe were researched before we left. It could be potentially either some insight or wisdom here, or a mix between Dex and insight. If we may went that route, I don't know. It's sounding though from you, BB, that may not help us that much. Like insight may
So, I
not
mean,
save us if they're still
this is
arcane.
meant that you guys can use any combination of stuff that you need to roll for. You just need to describe it to me in a way that makes sense for that.
Okay. Another thing I can put out there. This purple beam just created a hole, right?
It launched a beam that blasted like partly through the ship.
Did it create so like then that was part of like a creating of the like the rubble within here as well, right?
No, it didn't seem to create any more rubble, but you do see like this
Okay.
purple glow that may be the origin of that effect.
I mean,
I,
one idea I have is if we just try to, if it's like a magical signature, an arcane signature, maybe we just try to quote unquote track it and see where it's the strongest everywhere we look. We almost like a detect magic kind of vibe.
Okay.
Just everywhere we go. Thoughts?
yeah, it could be insight, or it could be Dex insight in that we have some dexterity, maybe because dexterity or might, it just depends on y'all.
Maybe if there's trouble in the
To
way that
like,
it is like a strong connection on the other side.
yeah, and that we somewhat know kind of how to go. And like somewhat what to. I'm thinking of like a hiker, or sorry, yeah, like a hiker or like a freestyle mountain climber, how they probably study the rock a little bit to like kind of understand the path they may try to traverse,
It's true.
as well as with the arcane layer on it. Um, there's some thoughts. So I think that also depends on, like you said, who should clear it, or who should be the lead to clear it, based off of that too.
Any ideas from either Felix or Claire?
Nada.
Okay.
Are
So
we
yeah,
flipping a coin?
I mean, if they don't have anything else that they want to toss in there, it's
Almost sounds like tracking the source of the magic.
Yep. So
Yeah.
a little bit of a definitely going to be probably. I mean, tracking the magic most purely sounds like insight and willpower to me.
I'm
Um,
good at that.
I can imagine so. I mean, Rain's more than okay with that, but
Now, if maybe there's more, if you guys want to lean into insight and maybe like you're trying to go the most direct route there, so maybe you're navigating over like rubble and stuff like that. Well, we could
either might or dex
yeah,
to
might or
like,
dexterity.
properly pulling stuff out of the way as well.
I'm team
Hearing a
willpower
path.
and insight, personally. Oh, but that's because that's my strength.
Yeah,
Willpower.
Yeah, like I would definitely benefit if we could add dexterity in, but I could do might or insight, no problem. Willpower is just my weakest.
Okay, so we'll
If-
keep
If the
insight in.
goal were might, and we offered to like try and clear rubble away that was more a direct path to be clearer, what does everyone think of that?
Felix immediately agrees.
Okay. I immediately agree as well. Everdeen.
Okay, so it sounds like insight and might is what we're rolling with. All right, so Rain Clarimond will be the last one to roll. Who wants to go first?
I guess I could
And
go
we're
first.
we're adding one for the bond, potentially to Rain. Is that right?
Correct, as long as you
Okay.
succeed on your check.
I guess I could
Oh,
go
okay. Not to my roll. He would get it if we succeed. Okay.
Correct.
Understood.
Sorry. Yep.
Right.
Thank you.
So
Yes,
I guess
no
I'll roll.
mods.
I'll roll first then, and
Sure.
we'll go from there. So insight and might.
Okay, and so this is a support check. It has a fixed difficulty level of 10, which means that is a success. So that's a +1 for Rain.
I could go next.
Okay,
No mods, correct?
just insight and might.
Oh,
7.
Cafes.
Now that is unfortunately a failure, which means Rain will get no bonus from Everdeen.
But we have a bond.
Well, you only get to add the bond if you can make the check.
Tell me more about that willpower that was used.
Yeah.
Oh, you rolled the
Hey,
wrong result. You have to roll. Everybody has to make the same check.
Oh, wow.
So-
Okay, my bad.
Has to be,
Let me
Come on,
try
higher
one more
roll.
time.
Come on, higher
I-
roll.
Yeah, you get a. I guess you get
So
another
sorry.
chance. You got to roll insight and might.
Insight and might. Okay, and that, I think the issue was that wasn't a pre-set up roll, so
Yeah,
I
it'll
just
be
was
a
over here
completable roll.
pushing buttons. Please hold. Insight,
The
might,
cold,
support.
the dedicated elementalist struggles to
Yes.
summon up her might.
We're doing our best every day. Every day we do our
Because
best.
at its core,
Oh,
ice is just water and therefore a
Yep.
liquid.
closer.
Yes,
That
and-
was closer, but still not good
but
enough.
no beans.
All right. Well, that
I
brings
have
us.
a proposition
Oh,
if she would want, but I don't think it would be worth it. If she had wanted, could she spend a Fabula point to invoke a bond? Just trying to
she
bring-
could, yes, if she wanted to.
I'm merely putting it on the table because since it's new.
Yes. Yeah. I don't see a problem with invoking.
So when you invoke, you can reroll one or both of your dice. You
Got you.
rolled a 7 on your might, so if you wanted, you could just reroll your insight.
That would be
Okay.
invoking a trait, would it not?
Oh right. Let me double check
mean, you
that.
Let's see.
You could do that, or you could just add your +1 from the
Yep,
bond.
no, yeah, you're right. You can just spend a Fabula point to add 1 from your bond, because that is the strength of your
Okay.
bond to the result of the check.
So I'm now gonna push the spend and declare button.
Alright, yeah, so you
Okay.
reach into remember like your bond with the
I
with
don't
the
know
prince,
what
and
just happened.
you don't want to let him down. You know he's got this sort of admiration for you, and so you dig into your heroic resolve and manage to push yourself just a little bit more than you would normally be able to. And so that changes the 9 to a 10, which is exactly a success, which will give Rain another +1 from that, as well as a +1 from the bond that you two share. Excellent. So that brings us to Felix.
It's so terrible.
Oh no. Oh no, is that a fumble?
Let's see here.
Mm.
When
I
both
guess
dice... Nope, it's only a fumble if both dice showed a 1.
Yeah.
Yeah, so if you have a total 2.
Okay, well, I'm pretty comfortable with the 5 on average with might. The question is whether or not I could spend a Fabula point to then reroll the insight check
Oof. That's only a
die.
6.
I
Yeah.
know, but it would be better than a 1, hopefully. I don't want to fail this terribly, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Well, okay, what trait would you want to invoke?
I think, let's see. Of these, I'd like to think that, I'm tough. I'm not from where everyone else is from. I've seen my fair share of scuffs and scraps and hauling our way through some rubble seems pretty manageable in my humblest opinion. So I think there's just he's gonna breathe through this and push a little harder.
Okay,
So
so he's
I would say
gonna...
it's his identity.
Okay. Okay, I can dig it. So give me one moment, and if you would like to go ahead and do that roll, actually.
Here.
Then...
Yeah, I'll spend and declare. And then insight. So let me go to my stats. 5. That makes that a 10.
An exact success. Perfect. All right, so that is going to be another +1 from the success.
The amount of tens.
Now, you would add
So
a
if it's a 5
+1...
plus a 5, does that make it a crit? No, I'm kidding. Anyways,
Nope,
moving on.
because it needs to be a 6 or higher. Nice try.
All right. So now it's all on Rain now, right? He's getting a total of +4.
+4, yep, because we only apply the single highest bond to your character.
Which is either a 1 or a 1. So
Yep.
Separate question.
Okay.
I, as the player / PC, am I allowed to know what the DC is that I'm trying to make?
Let's see.
'Cause I know it's a 10 for those
For
who are
them.
aiding.
I don't see it says that I have to tell you. I will look into it a little bit more, but if you would like to at least start rolling for me. we'll figure it out going forward.
Alrighty then. Alright, so insight and might.
With a
How
plus
this
4
begins.
modifier.
Yep, so I should just be able to do insight might, and it should prompt me to add a modifier. Yep. Let's see how this pans out.
So 12, is that including the plus 4?
That
Oh,
would
it
be
is.
including the plus 4. So,
Alright, I'll tell you,
And of course I rolled.
you're not feeling great about that check.
Reassuring.
But it's alright to fail. Some things might happen if you do, but
Fair. I think there's a part of Rain that really, really does not want to fail. Like,
these people are counting on you.
anyway.
You're their prince.
People are, yeah, he's taking charge in this. And maybe, it is okay to fail, but I think this first, like, sure, he created that barrier, but to him, this is his first chance to prove himself, like, more.
You can invoke a trait with a
having-
Fabula Ultima point, or you can invoke a bond. It's all up to you what you want to do.
I imagine this kind of goes into his identity a bit. It's probably the closest thing I can imagine this being, because this free-spirited prince is someone who's trying to prove himself outside of the king.
Yeah.
And these 3 individuals who are with him are the individuals that are who he feels he needs to prove himself to. So honestly, I think I could see him invoking his identity personally. I will re-roll. I don't know if I want to re-roll both. We'll just try insight. I'll try and re-roll insight specifically.
Okay.
So let's see. How does this work on my end? Okay.
So if you spend the Ultima point,
Cool.
3 players already down to 4 Fabula points.
Perfect.
It is. Good setup.
We're gaining experience points
So-
though.
Yep. All right, and let's see what the insight is this time.
Ooh.
8. Okay. So
that
this would
is-
now be 11 plus 3. 4, sorry. So 15.
15 is a success. The group manages to navigate the runes without trouble. So as a quick note, if you had failed, you might have still made it, but you just would have lost some hit points and mind points. As you maybe
Listen.
trip over some rubble and
Um,
wears on you.
I'm all for you taking away my HP. Don't touch my MP, please. I need that.
And so I'm going to move you guys a little bit. This isn't super important, but I like it for visualization. As you guys move past the ship and move towards the center of this crater. So as you do, as you forge ahead, despite some difficulties, you manage to reach the lower level of the ruins. The source of the purple light grows closer and closer, and you can see it's a dome-shaped building a few blocks away from where you currently are. Strewn amidst the rubble, you notice the remains of several Elonian Magitech soldiers. Some lie motionless on the ground, others hiss and shake in a shower of sparks as they wander the ruins. It looks like whatever magical energy damaged your airship also ended up irreparably frying the magical cores inside these constructs. Suddenly, you see a small cloaked person running towards you, chased by a one-eyed winged monster She screams, "I'm just a merchant! Please help!" in a young girl's voice, then rushes past you. She clearly wants to make sure you stand between her and the monster. The sudden movement also draws the attention of two of the lesser damaged Alonian troopers, which slowly drag themselves towards your position. Looks like you'll have to fight. So, we are now entering a conflict scene, the most exciting and challenging part of Fabula Ultima's gameplay. So the first step of any conflict scene is determining which players are involved in this case. Characters are involved. In this case, it's going to be the player characters against one Hexai and two Alonian troopers. Any other characters present on the scene, such as the Cloak Girl, can still be part of the narration but will not perform actions that influence the outcome of the conflict. So, as we move into the conflict here, the first thing that we have to determine is initiative. This decides which side has priority during the conflict scene. And this actually is another group check. So each player, whether they're the leader or a supporting character, will make a Dex plus Insight check and apply their initiative modifier to the result of their check. You guys do have to decide on another leader, so whoever wants to take up that role again, go for it.
I think this is either combat. I think either Claire or Felix would be the best option for leader.
I can agree with that.
Go for it.
I agree.
Okay, so which of them is taking it? Which one of them is taking the lead?
You good with me taking the lead, Decaf?
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, I will be the leader here.
Okay.
All right. So just to confirm,
Each of you can roll.
you said
Dex?
Dex and Insight.
Yep.
Can I? Oh wait, there's hey. Rather than going to the rolls, there's one under Initiative and Defensive that you can just click Initiative. Hey, that's
Perfect.
convenient. So, all right, cool. Oh, because that'll also it should I'm assuming add in your Initiative modifier if you have one.
Hopefully, yeah.
Man, I'm gonna go ahead and put in mine. Let's see. Rolled a 4 and a 7, -1 due to my Initiative modifier. So yeah, 10 on mine is accurate. The button under stats.
Okay. So we're going to get a +1 from Rain. Ooh, that is going to be a +0 from Everdeen.
I have
And
trash initiative stats.
Felix
I am
is
not surprised.
also providing a +0. All right. So Claire, you will have your initiative +1.
Yep, and I have no bonus or penalty for my armor, so it's just going to be a +1.
All
There you
right.
go.
That is a 13. Nicely done.
Actually, no, that's a 12. That is with the +1.
Oh, that's
It is a
+1's
Yeah.
already factored in there.
It gives us
Gotcha.
yeah, it gives us actually a lot of opportunities to factor in the bonuses pretty easily.
Well, excellent. Now, that leaves me to roll initiative. Oh, no, wait. I got the difficulty level check right here. So that is a success. So now the way this works is conflict takes place as a series of consecutive rounds. During each round, every participant in the conflict gets one turn in which they can act. Some powerful enemies can perform more than once per turn per round, but we'll learn more about that later. During each round, the player characters and their adversaries will alternate taking turns. The first turn of the round will go to the side that won initiative, in this case, the heroes. If one side can perform more turns than their adversaries, alternate turns for as long as possible, then have the side with more turns perform that at the end of the round. So you guys will get to go first, and you actually get to decide who you want to have going in order. And what we can do here is I'll put on a turn order, and you guys let me know who wants to go.
It's almost like we get a like a turn as a team. We decide who on our team goes.
Yep.
round in that turn, and then the next turn comes in, another person gets to go, and so on,
Exactly.
of our choice.
Does the order change each round?
It can.
Yeah, this is very much like Lancer.
So, for example, if let's say we do this one, and let's say Claire goes first on this round, everyone goes in the combat. Next round comes up, and we could have Everdeen go first, and Claire actually goes like third.
Right.
Gotcha.
So, who wants to go first? Let's just start with that. Please, not everybody at once.
I was gonna say, if no one stops him, I think Rain would like to go.
Okay, then let's go ahead and add a turn for Rain.
And specifically, I think his action is he wants to try and protect people. As you know, real shocking. He might not be the most combat-oriented individual himself, but
Okay.
make sure that everyone's ready for it. So,
the basic actions available to... So during a turn, a character may perform a single action. In its first conflict, the actions available to all characters are attack, guard, spell, and skill. So attack involves you making a accuracy check using attributes indicated by your weapon. Guard gives you resistance to all damage types until the start of your next turn. Spell is casting of the spell and spending mind points to do so. And skill is potentially one of your abilities that you got from your classes. So, what is Rain going to do?
right. I would like to know, what is everyone's defense overall?
My defense is 11.
Okay.
Mhm.
My defense is
this
12.
And my defense is 7. But I have a 10 magic defense.
Okay. Well, so specifically for the defense, then, he doesn't imagine he can really do much for Felix if that's the case. And even then, Claire will only benefit so much from this. But he's going to go ahead and cast a spell, and he's going to cast Barrier for a total cost of 15.
Oh, wow. So who all is he
What this is
casting
going
this
to
on?
do? Yeah, what all this is going to do is it's going to give a defense of 12 for the scene to Claire, himself, and Everdeen.
Okay.
So for the scene, instead of whatever your defense is, it is now equal to 12.
And I'm going to put a little shield on you guys so that we can track that. So it was Rain, Everdeen, and Claire, you said, or Felix?
And yeah,
Claire.
so exactly
Okay.
who you have it on already.
Perfect.
So yeah, now everyone here should now have a defense of 12.
Okay.
Are we
All
able
right.
to type a +5 added in the added defense square
If you would like to.
on our sheet?
We can also just keep track of it.
I guess I could see. I wonder. I don't know if there's like automated attacks or anything that it does, but I'll do an added defense. Make my
Okay.
own life easier.
Perfect. Well, so next is going to be my turn. And I think what I want to do... is I'm going to start with the Hexeye. And what the Hexeye is going to do is it is going to cast a little bit of magic of its own. And so it maybe saw you throwing magic out there. And thinks like, I could limit his ability to act further. I could kind of try to counteract the caster. But I think as it looks over the group here, as it considers who it should be going after, its monocular gaze falls upon... One second. Let's see. I think it's going to fall upon Everdeen here. And so,
Okay.
Everdeen, so you see this sort of dark shadow gathers on its wings, and it sweeps them forward. And as it does, it consumes a little bit of its own magic power or mind points.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
what it does is this dark magic runs towards you, and it is going to attempt a insight plus willpower check. And this is a spell, so this is going to go against your magic defense.
Which is 10.
Okay.
Unless the added defense was a magic defense, but I think it was just
It's
physical.
just regular defense.
Yep.
Alright, so I'm aiming for 10, and I fail. So these dark sort of bolts streak towards you, but you manage to either dodge out of the way or bring up your own sort of counter magic to stop them from hurting you in any way.
I also glare at them for even trying.
It glares back with its singular eye. Okay,
Sweet.
it's
Sweet.
a party member's turn next.
I guess I could go
Is
next.
it? Oh, okay. Yep.
Alright, Claire leaps into the fray.
Mm-hmm. Alright, so I see a couple of the Delonian troopers.
Yes.
I would like to spend some mind points of my own, but it's not to cast a spell.
Okay.
I would like to barrage. I would like to spend 10 mind points
Okay.
to essentially attack both Delonian troopers with multi-2.
Alright.
So with that, I perform a single accuracy check and compare it to the defense of every target.
Okay, very
determining
cool.
which of them will hit.
Yeah, so these troopers, you can see sort of like electricity occasionally like arcs across their body. They've got these like jerky motions, and I would say Felix knows these to be. There's not anybody in these suits. They're just Magitech soldiers.
So, oh, sorry, I forgot. So it looked like that button did not actually roll the attack, so I have to roll this one.
Okay.
Ah,
Ooh,
there we go. Yeah, that's not so good.
that is not good at all.
Yeah? So presumably that would miss both of them.
Yes, indeed. You fire. So you draw all your dual pistols, one shot in either direction. But it goes wide as you're beset by these creatures. And I think with you firing that, one of them is going to advance, strides up to you. And as it closes the distance, you see it's holding this halberd in two hands. And it is going to strike down with this halberd, trying to carve into you. And with that, it gets a 14 against your defense.
Which is 12.
The halberd strikes true, and for damage, oh, and they actually get a +3. Ooh, these guys are scary accurate. So damage is going to be high roll +12. The high roll is a 9, which means that is going to be 21 points of damage.
Oof.
A strong, powerful blow made against Claire. What's that leave you at, hit points wise?
That leaves me at 29 hit points. Not quite in crisis yet.
Okay, alright. Who wants to act next?
I do, please.
Alright, Everdeen leaps into the fray.
Yes. Now, I did see, and this may be a little bit unconventional, I did see one of the options one can do is the ability to study. In other words, there's a big baddie in the middle in between the two troops. Is that correct?
Well, not particularly. And for this particular battle, we're just easing into the rules. Study isn't
Okay.
quite an option yet.
Oh my goodness. Okay, I thought it was.
Nope, we're just like I said. It's this game. This particular adventure is meant to teach you actions step by step, or like the things that you can do step by step. So it says in this first conflict, the actions available to all characters are attack, guard, spell, and skill.
Got you. All right, so no way to ask questions about the target here. All right, well then we'll go with a different approach, which will be, can I get a gentle reminder on the creature in the middle, the one with the wings that
That
have
was
the darkness?
Yes. Yeah. That was the thing that tried to shoot the darkness at you.
Yes. I wanted to shoot some ice back. So,
Okay. So you're
what
using
I will
your
do,
glacies.
yes, will you gather that for us?
So now that is a spell that can target multiple creatures. It just costs
Okay,
10 more for each target for a total of, in
got
this
you.
case, it'd be 30 if you wanted to do that.
Oof. I think I'm only going to do 2 just
Okay.
because I would like to be able to practice my summon as well.
Okay.
So I would like to shoot the ice or the glacies, one at the shrouded shadow creature and the other one that just attacked Claire.
Okay. Sounds good. So this is going to be
So,
a insight and willpower roll against the magic
mhm,
defense of the target.
yes. And was that the roll here
It
that I
looks
just
like it.
picked?
Yeah, 15. Yep, and so you deal 9 ice damage to both of them.
Okay. And then I will take 20 off of my magic points
That'd be
or
Is
mind
it
points, correct?
I think
only
it's
9
9
damage,
plus
or is
15
it
damage,
like
right?
24?
Yeah,
Oh, you're
20.
right. It should be another. It should be, yeah, like a plus 15 or something
Plus
for
15.
glacies. So yeah,
Mhm.
That shows
another.
it in the effect. HR plus 15.
Yeah, I'm not.
Yes,
I
I
must be
see.
seeing like an abbreviated. Oh, you know what it is? So for some reason, the text shows up for me as white on a white background.
Oh no.
All right, I think I know why that is because I've
Gross.
got this in dark mode.
Yeah, I'm
Oh,
thinking
yeah.
of dark mode. It doesn't seem to work well for this shoot.
I admit I am not in dark mode, which
All right, I'll leave dark
is
mode.
surprising of me.
Okay, there we go. Now I
Yeah.
can see the descriptions of your roles and everything.
Yeah, we've got like descriptions.
I was thinking,
and,
like, man, those are
like-
big boxes that don't have anything actually in them.
It's like, why is there so much empty space?
Yeah. It makes sense now.
And
That's
for
funny.
clarification, when I was taking the 20 mind points off, I just manually do that in the current box, correct? Under
Yeah.
mind points?
Yeah. I think
Yeah,
that's
Okay.
probably the best way to go about it.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
like
manually
current
spent
mind
it.
points, and you can just subtract from that.
Excellent. Okay. Well, that leaves my last Elonian trooper. And so what he is going to do is he's actually going to just, he's going to attack at random. So let's go ahead and... I guess I should have established what random was. We'll use what I always do, top to bottom, left to right. So we are going to go after not Claire, but Rain.
Yeah, that's what I was waiting for.
So, this construct closes in on the young prince.
Ah, crap.
Let me see if this works out properly. Right. 13 just barely gets
Rick.
ya. So this halberd strikes down, and my high roll there was only a 6. Which means you will only take 18 bolt damage.
He says only. So shockingly, by the way, I am in crisis on the dot.
Wow. Oh my gosh.
I do not
Alrighty.
have a lot of HP.
Well, alright. Felix, can you turn the tides?
I'm sure hoping. I am going to probably follow my gut on this. With Rain taking the damage the way that they just can't handle taking damage, I'm going to go after the Elonian trooper that just smacked them.
Okay. Let me give a quick welcome to Dice and Destiny, who are just raiding. I am Jake. I am the GM here. We are playing some Fabula Ultima. I normally run Pathfinder, but we're branching out a little bit here in this adventure, and we're doing the press start adventure for them.
Mhm.
And so you've joined us in our very first combat. We haven't even completed the first round, so good timing.
Fact.
All right.
And in fact, you know what? Yeah, let's see if I can't turn this. I'm actually going to go ahead, and we're going to dip into some skills as well. I'm going to spend 10 mind points to activate Blade Storm so that I can attack 2 targets instead of just 1. I'm actually going to start out against the Elonian Trooper that's on Claire and then strike out against the Elonian Trooper on Rain.
Very nice. Okay. So you bring
Now-
your you have what, a spear?
Yep, I have a light spear in hand.
Okay, so you strike out with rapid blows, or maybe even a sweeping motion. Let's see what you got.
Yep. Ooh,
A 9 against defense. Eh?
it's not great.
Well, I've got good news for you. It's
Ooh.
enough.
Oh, thank goodness.
So that is going to be 15 total damage dealt to both of the troopers. Your
Love it.
multi-attack letting you strike out at both of them. And so the first one, this upper one here, goes into crisis.
Yay.
The second one is still pretty good. He's good. He's cool. But that resolves round 1. Now, round 2, you guys can switch up the order if you desire, but remember, it is going to go player character, enemy. With that in mind, who wants to act first? Excellent. Great choice.
I
You're right.
I'm thinking maybe myself again, if people will not stop me.
I think you
I
should.
kind of want to. I kind of want to
I feel like
stop you because you are
Either
already
you or
half dead.
Aberdeen. Yeah, either you or Aberdeen should probably go first.
Well, here's my plan here. I have this lovely spell known as heal. There's
Oh,
also the
that's-
guard action.
Fact.
There's
So,
guard, yes.
Now, BB, would you be willing? Could you elaborate what guard does specifically?
I
It hasn't
can. I can. You know what? Just because I like you. You focus on defending yourself and gain resistance to all damage types until the start of your next turn, or until the end of the scene, whichever happens first. When you guard,
Okay.
you may decide to provide cover to another creature of your choice present in the scene. If you do, that creature cannot be targeted by melee attacks until the start of your next turn. This effect will also
Ooh.
end if you are reduced to 0 hit points or if the scene ends. So, while you have
Ooh.
resistance, while you're resistant to damage, you lose half the normal amount of hit points rounded down.
Interesting.
Would you like to guard? Or would you like to heal yourself?
Please heal.
Now that we've heard about what guard does that change anyone's thought process? Because I know, Everdeen, you were thinking of going.
Of guarding.
I didn't realize. Yeah, I didn't realize guard actually allowed you to like defend another character. That's actually kind of cool.
Yes.
That is kind of cool. I was thinking more because I was going to get more guidance on this, but I think it's time for me to summon something, and so that's where my brain was going, and
Okay.
it wasn't as clear on how many rounds it would take to set summoning, but we're gonna.
Gotcha.
That's where my brain was going.
Okay, cool. Then I think what I'll go ahead and do, the time being, 18 in one hand. Ow. I feel like I'm in about the same boat, whether I guard or whether I heal.
Mm-hmm.
You know what? Let's see what happens. I'm gonna go ahead and do a heal. I'm gonna do
Okay.
10 per target. Claire, was it you who got hit earlier? If I'm not mistaken.
Yes,
Hmm?
Claire got
Yeah.
smacked.
Yep, I did.
Right. Then this is going to be a total of 20 MP here.
Okay.
I heal both of us for 40.
Wow.
Yeah, no, this heal spell is unbelievably effective. It heals more than I have.
Yeah.
Like,
All right, so you guys fully recover. I might just sort of stick with the lineup I got here, because I think the Hex Eye is going to act... Actually, you know what? I'm going to have this Elonian Trooper. You notice, like, as it takes that hit from Felix, who maybe is a little bit familiar with them, knows where to strike them. But you see, the sort of like electricity begins coursing more violently over its form and traveling up its halberd. And so this one is going to go first of the enemies. And it's going to attack a random target, so I'm going to roll a d4 again. As established, Claire 1, Rain 2, Everdeen 3, Felix 4. That's a 3, so this time it is going after Everdeen.
Winner, winner, chicken dinner.
Alright, so Everdeen, I'm going to throw a halberd strike at you. Let's see how it goes. That is a 14.
It hits.
It does hit, unfortunately. So,
You sunk my battleship.
high damage on that was a 9, which means this is going to be 21 points of electricity damage.
Super fun. Super fun. I feel energized or damaged, but
Are you in
also
crisis?
no.
Okay.
No.
You got to keep track of that, because when you are, you get your fury benefit from your adrenaline benefit from your fury class.
Yeah.
However,
Counting down.
because my Elonian trooper is as damaged as he is, his critical core failure, the electricity courses through your body, causing your muscles to twitch and stiffen, and you become slowed.
I get a status condition.
You do get a status condition. So this status will apply to your speed, I believe, as we take a look at the
you
sheet
should be
here.
able to apply it
Yep.
under status immunities on stats.
Yep. And actually, it won't have any effect on you, because you're at a D6, and you can't go below that. However, at least as far as you're aware, it won't have any penalties on you. Alright. Which hero would like to act next?
I think I'm next, but I'm not gonna lie, BB. We're gonna have to talk me through it. A little bit.
Whoever wants to go can go. It can be any one of you. If you
Kinda
would
like
like
you
to
want to
act,
go.
go for it.
I would.
Okay.
Once again, just trying to state before, I had wanted to summon my Arcanum. I
Yeah.
think what was still not 100% clear in this game rule was, is that a spell or a ritual?
It isn't either.
I heard it's a okay.
But it is a
All
skill
right.
which you can do, because that's one of the 4 actions we can do here.
Got it. All right. So when I was going to my magic, I was trying to add it on said sheet, and it wasn't clear where. So if it's not a ritual, I'm going to remove it off of there.
Yep.
Um,
So what happens
we
is
want-
you spend an action and 40 mind points to summon an Arcanum you have bound.
yes.
You have the Arcanum of the Frost. So when you summon
Yes.
it, you get resistance to ice damage, and you are immune to the Enraged status. Additionally, any ice damage you deal ignores resistances. At
Yeah.
any time, you can dismiss it to deal just flat 30 ice damage to any enemies you can see.
Now, as the Arcanum, so summoning it, I lose the 40 points.
Correct?
And I'm sure that is the action. The action is summoning it on this turn.
Yes.
I think I'm clear on that. So
Yep.
all I do here is just subtract the 40 mind points from my stats, which I will do.
Yep. And now, if you
What?
wanted to, you could immediately dismiss it to deal 30 points.
I think it said I had to have it for at least one round, I thought.
You may willingly dismiss your Arcanum. This doesn't require an action, but during a conflict it can only be done on your turn, before, or after an action.
Ah, I thought I saw on Arcane of the Frost that I had to at least had it for one round. But as the Arcanum, doesn't the Arcanum have the power to attack?
No, it's the Arcanums mostly enhance your own ability.
Okay.
So this
So
allows your ice magic to strike deeper, and also makes you more resistant to ice damage.
got it, but I cannot do any more ice damage if I have no more mind points.
Kinda correct, yeah.
You can,
Ah,
you'd have to have another action to do that, but you can drink, like, I think it's an electro. to
Yes.
restore mind
Yep.
points.
You could, on your next turn, spend some inventory points and
mhm.
consume. I think if we look at your inventory or your backpack. Yep.
It would be backpack. Also, the way that's worded, actually, that is a curiosity.
Right.
Could you use an elixir or remedy on a different character?
Yeah, I would think so.
That I would imagine if it's definitely like JRPG related, yeah, it's just you're spending your inventory to then toss it on someone else.
Yeah, makes sense to me.
Okay. That makes sense too. I think what's not making sense is what's the point of the item, except for if there's a resistance, like if we were fighting something that was already ice, like if it was ice versus ice, I would be able to penetrate
There's that,
further.
and then there's
And then the dismissing
also
of it.
right. That is one of the main things you'll do with your Arcanum. Call it forth and then dismiss it to inflict Ice Age and just deal a flat 30 damage to every enemy you can see.
I see. Okay. So then I now see your point, Phoebe, of I summoned it, and then if I in my post action dismiss it, I can then fire 30 at the 3 targets.
Yeah, so
Is
eventually,
that
so essentially, like the Arcanist, you are calling forth these Arcanum. So this can take whatever form you want it to. But essentially,
yeah,
you are
and I was
calling it forth, and then as you dismiss it, just like ice surrounds you. Like it sort of crackles around your opponents as frost that covers the earth, but it seizes upon your enemies to deal 30 damage to each of them. But
gotcha.
do you have an idea for what your Arcanum looks like?
Yes, it was going to be kind of like this large, glorious, like I want to say like this ice, like falcon, if you will. It's a very big bird that's very ice.
A Cryo Phoenix,
It's a
perhaps.
yeah, it's giving like Hitamaru and Bleach, yes, but more
Okay.
bird than like dragon wings.
Okay.
And it's just the idea of like you see this big bird coming from her back. Um
Okay, yeah, it
and then
rises from
I
your
was
back and then almost like maybe
yes,
shatters as it spreads this frost everywhere.
yes. And so I think then with the action of summoning it, I would like to then, just for now, because we're trying out mechanics here, I would then, they see the wings, they see the bird, they see how ridiculous it is, and like really cool. And then I dismiss it immediately to then shoot the 30
All
damage.
right. 30 damage. Immediately, this one, the sort of southern or northern Elonian trooper freezes over completely, and you see like its core like swirling, struggling to stay alight before it is snuffed out and it shatters, breaking into pieces. You see the Hexai, who actually I might have misled you all slightly. I think I forgot to mention. Oh, nope. He also gets. So normally the Hexai cannot be targeted by melee attacks because of his flying ability. But spells and range attacks can target him normally. And so the frost seizes over him, and this just tiny little eye flying thing immediately drops to the ground and shatters into pieces as well, leaving only this Elonian trooper at 30, who is now in crisis. And you can see, like, just before, like with the other one, where the electricity started like surging more violently, you can see it doing here as well. And it, as the only one left, will act. It's the only one of its people. So, it strikes out, determining a random target. Same numbers as always. Here we go. 2. Prince, it will not let you leave here alive. Maybe it recognizes, like, maybe these have like basic programming, so like, hey, kill the prince. Who knows?
Man, we might need to talk about that with the country.
But so it strikes out at you with its halberd for a
Gosh dang it!
13.
I know.
Just getting
I
through.
tried so hard.
Yep, despite your protection, unfortunately. So that is going to be a 7 high roll, which means that is going to be 19 bolt damage, putting you right back in crisis, I
Ow.
believe.
Oh yeah.
And
Oh.
also, on top of that, it slows you, which is again meaningless.
Does nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm at 16.
All right. Well, that brings us to either Claire or Felix, whichever of them would like to act.
Guess I can jump in.
Certainly.
And let's just go for a regular attack. Why not?
Okay.
13
13 is a hit.
for 8 plus 8 is 16 damage.
16 damage. And as this thing whirls, charging the prince, Claire levels a shot and snipes through its core, snuffing out that surging ball of electricity. It topples heavily to the ground. And as the dust sort of settles around it, as our four heroes catch their breath, that is where we'll end tonight's session. Thank you everybody who came out to watch this. Thank you to my players for enjoying this series with me. We're going to be back
Yeah.
again in 2 weeks, presuming there are no issues that arise between now and then. And we will most likely be concluding our run through of this. Because we are on, like I said, we're using the press start sort of like little adventure here. We are on page 31 out of 52 pages. So,
Ow.
you want to see what happens next time? Be sure to stick around. It's going to be, what day is that? The 22nd is what we're looking at. But, until then, folks, stay safe, be good. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.